still.
Back in 2018, a group of friends and I decided that we would find and build a homestead together. The idea of living in a small community where we could live, work, and create together, but also retreat and have alone time to read, write, and reflect really appealed to us. The practicalities of life weighed in on our decisions too. Each of us grew up in the country or in a small town, and city life was draining. The cost of living was becoming more and more exorbitant, that we knew pooling our resources would result in less strain, greater resiliency, and better opportunities for ourselves. We sat down together and began to share our individual visions to see if they aligned with one another. We discussed what we liked in a place, our individual needs, fears, finances, expectations, logistics, and anything else we could think of, both comfortable and not, to help pave our way for a smoother process as a group acting as a more unified whole. At first, we were looking in many different regions for a place to settle. We all had grown up in different parts of the world, so we generally were very open-minded about a future place. But this open-mindedness led to too many choices, which also led to indecisiveness, which was counterproductive to the process. I first came to the Finger Lakes region of New York when I was 13 years old, and fell in love first and foremost with the natural beauty of the region. Upon my first visit here, I felt as if I was coming home, and that's a feeling that you always remember. I was eager to see if my friends would feel the same way. Luckily, early on in our home search, I had come across a place in the area that had captivated everyone's hearts. We could tell the land was loved, deeply loved, and that moved us to action. This gave us motivation to visit the area, go on hikes, visit the farmers market, share meals, walk the campuses, and just take in all the scenery. We visited the place that we had fallen in love with, and only fell in love with it more. But that place wasn't meant to be. Due to unforeseen challenges that we tried to work through the better part of a year, we couldn't make the deal work, and we fell into a state of despair. It was monumentally challenging for us to find something that we loved just as much. We made ourselves go through the motions of seeing other places, but it was both physically and emotionally draining. The weight of making too thoughtless or too desperate or too irrational of a decision also felt debilitating. We had the eagerness to get started on our journey, sometimes forgetting that the search and the struggles are also part of the journey, and sometimes the most important parts, because those are the times that feel the hardest to show up, but you still do it, and that's what matters. Friends and family assured us that this would take time. We even had one friend share that it was like training for the Olympics. Everything we were training for now was working up to a point where we would eventually be fit enough to make a quick decision. That made us smile. And we found comfort in sharing our thoughts with one another, because after all, we weren't doing this alone. Right around the time the pandemic started, people's quest to buy and sell their homes or their land was heightened. All of a sudden, we felt rushed to make a decision because within a short period of time, it seemed as if everyone was buying sight unseen. Up to this point, we had been much more methodic, much more careful, and much more research-oriented in our approach. We began to miss out on opportunities that we made offers on, but we also didn't want to make a poor decision. After all, this was likely going to be one of the biggest decisions in life that we would make for ourselves. We began to widen our search and became open to living a little bit more off the beaten path. As soon as we made that decision, we found something that piqued our interest in June of 2020, and in total Olympic fashion, made a swift offer. After 2 years of searching, we were able to close at the end of September that year, and the first one of our crew members was able to be there full-time a couple months later, right before the first big snow. It's been 2 years since we got here, and we have been busy with projects. We removed thousands of multiflora rose and Japanese honeysuckle bushes, which were choking out other plants on the land. Cleaned out 32 tons of trash from the landscape and seeded a 7-acre meadow. Fixed and extended a 15-acre deer fence. Nearly finished up a renovation of a tiny home. Started the build-out of a woodwork shop and set up a space for an extra bathroom in our barn. Planted an orchard and berry bush area. Planned and put in a 1-acre permaculture corridor for wildlife with 54 trees and 92 shrubs. Reseeded a lawn with native grasses. Planted over 80,000 bulbs in the lawn. Put in 7 garden beds that didn't exist before, including a memorial garden, pollinator garden, herb garden, shrubbery, and opening garden by the newly renovated meadow home. Erected 2 raised beds and planted them with asparagus, hardy ginger, and elecampane. Put in close to 300 trees across the landscape and over 1,300 different types of plants, 46% which are native to the region. Erected a gazebo and built raised stone beds. Planted native bluebells, trillium, and stropharia mushrooms in the forest. Began renovating the interior of our future chicken coop. Laid out and started a new walkway. Put in new windows and doors to the common house, and started on more renovations in there, and began figuring out how to diversify our energy on the land. The list goes on. We have to constantly remind ourselves that the only deadlines we have are the ones that we make. So it's important to take some time to enjoy what we're co-creating, spend time with family, take long walks, birdwatch, swim, fish, garden, and just enjoy. Every day is so precious. We want to make sure we make the most of it. And sometimes that means just being present in the moment.